Hey gang, this is Maverick again with Maverick Living. Trying to give you information that'll help you to live a long and prosperous life. This one is called Who Changed the Blood Pressure Numbers? And I want to refer you to an article from a guy called the Space Doc. He was a doctor for the astronauts for a period of time. And his real name is Dwayne Graveline, MD. Um, he has a website that I will put the link to down at the bottom here where you can find a lot of information that he's discovered about things like blood pressure and statins and so forth. But I wanted to talk to you about an article he wrote, and here's a picture of it. It's called Blood Pressure and Heart Disease, and I can't read it all to you because not only would that be plagiarism, even though he probably wouldn't mind, but I don't have his permission. And I also am not a doctor, so I can't tell you what to do or not do as far as any medications. All I can do is share with you information, and you decide what you want to do on your own, okay? But I do want you to know this is a doctor, and this is his article. Now, this was way back in, I don't know, like 2016 or something when he wrote this, and I discovered it a long time ago. And what he's saying is that, I mean, I will read some excerpts here, but what he's saying is that originally all doctors knew that blood pressure was different with everybody, just like height, weight, and so forth. And so there is no set numbers, there was back then, no set numbers for blood pressure. Generally speaking, they had a rule of thumb that the top number was 100 plus your age. So if you were 47, 147 was a okay blood pressure. And if you were 75, 175 was an okay blood pressure. They never really worried about it. When doctors first got their little stethoscope thingies and their measuring device, I forget what it's called, he mentions it here, but anyway, they actually began to read the numbers, and they discovered that everybody's different. And what's good for one is not everybody's blood pressure. So what the space doc talks about here is like during the Framingham study, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but that was the big cholesterol, heart disease study. It's actually still going on, but when they first started it, it was to, pharmaceutical companies were funding it so that they could basically figure out a way to make more money and get more customers. So I read a book years ago called Heart Failure, and it was about the Framingham study and how the data does not match the narrative we hear today. Have you heard that term lately? The data does not match the narrative that we've been hearing. So they skewed the data, the reports they made, so that they could control, and that's a whole other deal about cholesterol. But as far as blood pressure goes, what gives them the right to say that 120 over 80 is a normal blood pressure and anything over that is too high? I know for myself, I went to the doctor one time like everybody else. He said my blood pressure was 140 over 80, and it was high, so he prescribed me, lisinopril or something like that. Anyway, I found out, and he also told me to take an aspirin. A couple, 3 months later, I landed in the hospital. I'm anemic, and then I find out that the crap I was taking was killing off, or at least not allowing red blood cells to increase and so forth. And I was anemic because of the very medicine I was taking, so I quit taking it. But basically, my blood pressure, I can, get checked by the doctor. It typically is about 120 to 130 over 80 all the time, even though I'm like 79 years old. So mine's not 179 over 80. But the point is, everybody's blood pressure is different, and that's what doctors believed for a long time until the pharmaceutical industry got involved and decided that they needed to do the same thing they do with cholesterol. Basically set a standard, a line. Anything above this is high and needs treatment and is dangerous, and anything below this, is, well, that's okay. But anyway, I will read this, part of what he says. He says, additional research revealed that blood pressure tends to rise naturally with age in both men and women, so that a 120 systolic blood pressure of a 20-year-old, 100 plus the age, becomes 140 in a 40-year-old and 160 in a 60-year-old, with male values exceeding female by some 10 mmHg, whatever. This reality for both systolic and diastolic pressures has been known to all practicing physicians for many years. Doctors soon learned about the 100 plus year age rule, and it took much more than 180 over 95 in an octogenarian to get his attention. He didn't have any blood pressure pills, so then it didn't make much difference anyhow. Meanwhile, scientists involved with our Framingham study had made the astounding correlation that the higher the systolic blood pressure of their Framingham community study patients, the higher their all-cause death rates. The data they reported to the medical and scientific community would radically change medical philosophy with respect to the treatment of high blood pressure. So the question arises, just what is high blood pressure? Despite our past many decades of accepting the 100 plus year age more or less, today's medical textbooks are warring over exact values, and new national standards come out every few years, placing desirable blood pressure targets ever lower. So why would they make them lower? Well, is it because everybody's blood pressure has changed? No. The lower the number, the more likely there'll be more people that exceed that number, and then they can get on medications. It's the same with cholesterol. They've lowered it down. What is it? Got to be under 200 now? When the data shows that the higher cholesterol people live longer than people trying to lower it. That's just, again, that's the data that's not being presented to us. So there's been several other researches since, and you can read this article for yourself and make a decision. Let's see. He says, when one considers the side effect profile of most of the antihypertensive medications, even if we add a few months of life, what are we as a society really doing? So my challenge to you is that, like so many things, particularly recently, we've been lied to by Big Pharma in order to sell more drugs. And obviously everybody is concerned about their lifespan. Nobody wants to die from a stroke. But I would recommend that you go on spacedoc.com and read whatever articles get your interest. You can read this one. The title is Blood Pressure and Heart Disease. It's back in his archives. But there's much more out there, like I said, about the cholesterol and stuff too. So that's the big word these days. When you put something out there, people say, oh, it's conspiracy theory. Do your research. Well, I'm telling you, do your research and find out the truth, okay? And see if you should. Because we tend to have the idea that taking the medications, well, if you don't really need them, it's not going to harm us. But that's just not the truth in many, many, many cases. And I'm not going to elaborate on that right now. But I will throw this out there. A great portion of the medications they call it medicine. I know it's a commercial on TV now. It's one of those companies, I think it's Lilly, says a medicine company. So now they've started calling petroleum medicine, because most drugs are synthesized from some petroleum that they change some molecules and blah, blah, blah. And so you're putting petroleum in your body, and your immune system doesn't know what to do with that. And that's why there's so many side effects and why so many drugs. They may do this, but they also can do that. It's a mess. But anyway, think about it. Do your research. Spacedoc, that's SPACEDOC.com. And like I said, I'll put the link down in the description here. And you can read it for yourself, see what he says, make your decision. And if you're wondering, good to ask your doctor. because he's been trained, brainwashed to believe whatever the drug reps hand him. You know, the drug reps come to doctors every, I don't know, once a month to sell the latest new drug, and they give doctors these studies supposedly that are written by ghostwriters that promote pharmaceutical products. So that's a whole nother scam. I'll maybe do a video on that later, but doctors are not told the truth any more than we are. So they're operating on a lot of false pretense. Okay, so check out spacedoc.com. You'll find it very interesting, and it may change your approach to your healthcare. All right, talk to you later. And don't forget to subscribe down here on the subscribe button, because when you do, it not only helps me to create more videos, but more importantly, it notifies you whenever I put a new video out, so you can watch it, see what it's about, if it's interesting. Okay, tell your friends, share it, whatever. All right, so have a good day. We will be back with you later.